people need this. Men need to be uplifted. This kind of men, they need to be seen. We need to be able to see these men who are, and it's a dance. The moment I say it, I right away understand that it's not only my partner, it's also me who's doing something to be with this kind of partner. And then
Yeah.
he can mold and shift and dance around me. And I, of course, mold and shift and dance around him. This is really what it means to be in a coupleship where there is equality. And women need to hear this too, because women need to know what's possible and accessible to them and what they're actually giving up on when they say, oh, I want this brutal and masculine guy, and I want this, I want him to provide for me, and he's so sweet. Yes, of course, he's sweet in the beginning of the relationship. These same women, what I know from women who come to me, um, and I think we spoke about it. I don't know if we spoke about it, but there is a gap between what people show and express in public eye and what is actually happening in the home. And we know that at the home there is happening a lot of abuse, because the moment if you put yourself as a woman into position that you're completely dependent on the guy, it is just such a fertile for our human nature. It is such a fertile ground for the person to be like, do as I say. And what you're going to do when you have kids. And we know that there are so many women and men who live this way. And the younger people, they don't want this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe we need to think about, maybe I need to think about Keanu, my son. He's growing up, he's 12, he's soon going to be kicking into his, sexual awakening. What I want him to know about relationships, what I want him to know about him to be, because then the danger for the gentleman, maybe this is what I also want to highlight. I think that probably both of our partners are artistic and they're
Mhm.
gentle, they're tender, they have a strong feminine uh,
Mhm.
side to them, and that is actually what translates to me. I will speak for myself. This is what translates into the partner who is so attuned and listening to me that I can multi-orgasm. And I didn't experience this in my life before. And it's not only in the physical realm, it's also in the intellectual realm, where maybe there comes more of, one of the things. So this is what I wanted this episode essentially to be about, to brag about what this kind of a man that is gentle, but at the same time has a solid sense of self, that union of the masculine and the feminine, that balance that the person already has inside of them. This is what is magnetic, and this is what I want entire world to know. I want women in the free world to choose wisely. And I want these young boys who are sweet and gentle, who have been brought up by loving and kind women, families, men, maybe men and women like that, because there are people like that. I want for this gentle and sweet kids, for this gentle and sweet boys to know you anchor into you, and also know that you're not going to be manipulated and abused by the toxic feminine that is going to try and to force you, right, into being
Oh,
actually their puppet.
no one talks about the toxic feminine.
Ooh.
No one
Right, but
talks
they dance
about that.
together. They dance together. The
Wow.
toxic feminine is the one who says, you provide for me. I'm the queen, and you need to do things for me. If you're a queen, then you better be married to a king. And king is not someone who is going to be a servant, a perpetual slave to your desires.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like I can't think of a time I've heard that those two words put together, toxic feminine. Like it's just simply not talked about. What I hear more often is the concept of toxic positivity, in the new age movement and manifestation. And I know that's veering off, but it's interesting. It's really interesting to me that I've not heard always the toxic masculine. And I see why. See why that's gotten more coverage. But yeah, yeah.
What do you think it is about your partner? Because I think this is where it's, this is what we really want to highlight. This very, just like day to day, something that people can really understand. What are these qualities that you would say, this is what he does that allows me to, that I now can reflect, that allows me to, I mean, that there's nourishing to me, there is uplifting to me. Think about
And
it. When you're showing him this episode, he's going to smile and feel very cozy
I
and celebrate it.
yeah, and with Mother's Day having just happened, I've been thinking a lot about his mom. She she passed away several years ago, and she lost her battle with cancer. I was so grateful to have the years that I did with her, the first several of my relationship with my partner. And she taught him, and I've asked him, how did you turn out this way? How did you turn out to be so
Which way? Tell
nourishing?
me which way. Just verbalize it. Which
Yeah.
way? Which
Um,
way?
yeah. Balancing this very masculine, very masculine presence and very physical. He is building things. He's out there literally getting his hands dirty. He's all of that, but also playing the piano and singing and then listening to me ad nauseum and holding space. His capacity to hold space for me is so incredible. And
And that ties right away, ladies, whoever is listening to it, to your sexual liberation, to your connection to what, like, we don't even know yet in mainstream what this body is capable to give to us, not only on a just a physical pleasure, contracting muscles, that orgasmic level, but how that just ripples into a spiritual awakening, really.
and his
These kind of
answer
men are healing us for their sex. They're healing us for their sexuality.
they're healing us for what?
They're healing us through their sex that they're having with us. They're healing us through, and the listening to, and that is it's so important to understand, holding space and listening. It's right away tied to that.
And the reason why I thought of his mother, I brought her into this conversation, is I said, one day I asked him, well, how did you how did you turn out this way? And because of his mother was very intentional at an early age appropriately, when he had his first long-term relationships. She talked to him directly about sex, not just the education part and how not to get pregnant, but how to be sensual, how to have women feel safe, how to provide anchoring through sensual touch. I remember early on in our relationship going, wow, like you should be a massage therapist. Like, did you ever think about being a massage? And we were so young. And he's like, no, I have no interest in being a massage therapist. And it boggled my mind because I thought, well, if your hands are that skillful at just affectionate touch, how could you not use that as a career? I literally was like, you should. I was kind of pushy. I was like, no, I really think you should go into massage because I was just like blown away. And he's like, no, I shouldn't. I had to let
We are
that
so
go.
different. I'm like, no, you are mine. You are mine. I don't care. I mean, there were
No,
moments when I would feel like there were moments where I was like, it's kind of very selfish that I like maybe if I were more loving and compassionate person, I would want him to be polyamorous. But then another part of him was like, not happening. I don't care. All mine.
we're a bit different here. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I need to share this. I need
Yeah.
to.
I'm like, it would be a noble thing to share, but no way.
No.
And he's like, that's fine. I'm not willing to share anyway. I was like, good. Mine. Precious.
But going back, like his mom really brought this into conversation early on, and now we talk about it, and we talk about how he's not in the client world like I am, but we talk a lot about how can we how can we how bring this into a client space? How can I teach them teach or like model for my clients after we have, because again, like you've said many times, right, we have these great examples of stuff going well. For every one of those, we had a bad time, we had an argument, we had some conflict, but the difference is we went through it, we overcome it, and we've learned from it, and that's where we can um, stand firmly through our resilience.
Yeah. 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 I'm thinking we are in the very beginning. These are just our first episodes, and I hope the person who is watching this is going to, whoever that resonates with, we don't know yet who are the people it resonates with. We are going to be discovering as people are going to be commenting on these videos and sharing and, reflecting and also telling us, what do you want to know, where you struggle? Are you a woman watching this and you're wondering, how do I find this kind of a man? Because I keep hearing, and I work a lot with Russian-speaking clients, and that's a very patriarchal culture. Very much, there's this polarity, and not only polarity, unfortunately, it's a culture where violence is very much normalized. Uh, so even women don't realize, and misogyny, even women don't often realize you're not really being now feminine. And feminine, by feminine, I don't mean weak or submissive. I mean that you're not sitting in the place of your gentleness and compassion. And this kind of gentleman who 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 know what it's like for their boundaries to be respected, and they're looking for to be met with the same gentleness and the same quality of, I'm going to be holding space for you, I'm going to be honoring your boundaries, I'm not going to be shaming you. It's like some guys would tell me, I didn't want to kiss you at the first time that we met. It wasn't something that I was yet comfortable with, but then she got upset, and it was not considered to, because I was not kind of masculine initiated, but well, I didn't feel yet. And if she wanted to kiss me, she could have done it. So for,
Totally. I
I
totally
think
heard
for,
that story.
right. And I think for this kind of guys, that would be a red flag. That would be like, because for them, there is no really that much duality. No, I have my needs. I have my, I want to be respected just the way you want to be respected. I want to be cuddled and loved and approached with tenderness the same way as I'm going to be with you. So this is, I think, where a lot of women still don't understand that if you want to attract the kind of a nourishing man, you need to be truly nourishing woman. And first of all, this is where we kind of come, all of us, no matter what gender we are, where we are on the spectrum, we understand we need to be a nourishing individual to ourselves. Because our relationship with the partner is a mirror to our relationship with the self.
And you sharing that scenario makes me think of conversations I've had where, let's say, okay, the couples have kissed and things are escalating, and you get into the bedroom, maybe it's the second or third date, and things feel in alignment, but there's a pressure, especially on the male identified individual, to perform at this, sexually perform at this high level that impresses, and just what we see portrayed in the media, in movies. And that thought is powerful enough, that pressure, to rob themselves of sexual energy. And then they end up having anxiety, performance anxiety, and then they don't show up. And then they spiral a lot of times. When I talk with my couples debriefing how a night went, and they're like, oh no, will this happen again? Now my body's not showing up. Now I have erectile dysfunction. Now I think now, and sometimes the women have ghosted the men when the women has initiated sex, and then the men go, well, I really was interested in them, but the women have cut off communication. And that, I think, is a toxic behavior for sure on the feminine's part, because
Mhm.
there was no conversation about the needs, and they both operated on, they operated without talking, essentially.
Mhm.
And moving forward, I would talk with that man and go, well, if it's not your style, not your desire to have sex this early on in a partnership, and you want to wait longer, then wait longer. And they
Mhm.
go, well, but what if she wants to and I'm not ready? Then say that, period. And they just sit there
Yeah.
sometimes, and it takes a whole session to like walk through what that can look like, that can feel like, how that conversation can look. And on the other side of it is a better connection. And your body then shows up for you because you honored it. Then that man didn't betray their desire to wait. And that's not often talked about, because the perception is men always should be ready for sex. Why? Why? Who said that?
Yeah, they not always, again, we're dropping into new reality that little by little, I believe that we're all going to be awakening to, as I hope the freedom is going to be spreading through the world, that our body is sacred and we are the body, the feminine principle, and we are the protector of it with our conduct, with the way we put our boundaries, how we communicate to that body. And when we look for partnership, no matter what gender we are, we want to find someone who is excited about our authenticity, about, who doesn't want to trample over our boundaries, who doesn't put their desire above ours, where we can
Mm.
where we can dance together. And that means he maybe is not in the mood right now and you are, and vice versa. And guess what? The most incredible thing is that we all have a way to self-pleasure, and that is not a shame. Right? Of course, if you find that you're simply not attracted to that person, then partnership cannot exist. It needs those. I find that for really long-term, beautiful partnership, people need to have three components. There has to be sexual attraction, there has to be emotional, resonance, and there has to be intellectual resonance. We need to resonate on this. I can go deeper with you to the energetic level when I have couples come for the ceremony to align energetically. This is what I had discovered, that you can, sometimes with the help of the plant medicine, with the help of CBD, sometimes without. It depends on people. Um, you can do practices that will allow you to kind of go tuk 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 on all on the chakra centers, and that kind of makes things much easier. Also with introduction of the sound of playing the matching drums, where people can just drop into this sense of I like how Guy said it. I think we're becoming into Itzur Dutei, which in Hebrew is a creature that is with two cells. It's like one creature that has two cells, that we are like Humpty Dumpty kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and that in itself, of course, has it takes me to memory of one of the legends about twin flames, that they were so powerful. They were like these creatures in the, I believe, Greek mythology, or maybe Egyptian mythology, that they were Mesopotamian, I can say, mythology, that they were connected with their kind of backs, and they were just this like one human, one body comprised of two, and they were powerful. They were able to do much more things. You can just think about it, right? If you have like
Yeah.
four hands, and you just more, you're able to do more things. And the gods got envious and they separated them. But in a larger storytelling, you can see where everything is divine. You can see that, okay, divine was this, and that was a way to separate, so that you can then turn around and you can then come together in this new way where you're completely free. You're separate, you're free, you have your autonomy. And out of this freedom, what a juicy story, right? To be chosen out of, and to choose out of this freedom, and then to work together. This is what we are learning now as masculine and feminine, to work together. And I think that for me, this is the main force, motivational force for this work. We need to survive as humanity, to not completely blow this whole thing up the way we have been doing progressively. We need more people to experience what it truly means to have a nourishing relationship, male to female, out of freedom. And that can happen only out of freedom. You need freedom first to be able to identify each other, not because you are essentially sold into slavery by your parents, but because you chose each other. And here, this place of dating, the way we are choosing each other, that means I need to sit in my authenticity. I need to be the divine feminine to my divine masculine, and I need to be my divine masculine to my divine feminine, no matter, what body I exist in. And then I'm going to be walking with this presence, saying, hey, beloved, please gift me, please manifest, universe, please manifest my couple, my other, with whom we are going to be able to do this dance. And it's 1:11 p.m. right now.
Oh my goodness. I love that. Well, I can't wait to continue these conversations with you. I'm really glad we captured this one.